Welcome to another edition of Pursuing Wisdom. My name is Robert Davis, and today we're going to look at the true meaning behind Jesus' first miracle of turning water into wine. In the book of John, Jesus performs his first miracle, turning water into wine. On the surface, this hardly seems like it was a necessity. However, in ancient Israel, running out of wine at a wedding was a major disaster. It brought public shame and dishonor to the family because it called into question the groom's ability to pay or provide for his new wife and the future family. It was also seen as a sign of a cursed union because wine was a symbol of God's favor. Jesus was not going to intervene, but at the insistence of his mother, he got involved. Jesus said to his mother, "Woman, what have I to do with thee? Mine hour is not yet come." This statement seems unduly harsh and cold to our modern ears. The term woman in the Aramaic language would equate to ma'am to us today. Still, this is a very formal reply to your mother. John, the writer of this letter, was establishing the deity of Jesus in chapter 1, and here in chapter 2, he seems to be continuing that theme by highlighting the spiritual relationship over the physical. Next, Jesus says, "My hour is not come." This statement speaks of his death and ultimate glorification on the cross. Note, this miracle did manifest his glory and cause his disciples to believe on him. Although Jesus said his hour is not yet come, what did his mother do? Mary told the servants, "Whatever Jesus tells you, do it." This interaction always makes me smile because it shows Jesus had a mother like mine, and I think most of us. It demonstrates beyond a shadow of a doubt Jesus was human. There were 6 water pots that could hold around 18 to 27 gallons apiece. This would total approximately 162 gallons for all 6. To put it in perspective, that's equivalent to about 900 bottles of wine. But why would they need so much wine? Why was it necessary? Because God is a God of abundance. In addition, Jewish wedding celebrations lasted 7 whole days. Jesus told the servants to fill the water pots, and they filled them to the brim. Jesus then told the servants to serve the governor of the feast the water that was turned into wine. Upon tasting the wine, the governor called the groom over and said, "Every man at the beginning doth set forth good wine, and when men are well drunk, then that which is worse. But thou hast kept the good wine until now." The takeaway from this exchange is not that God makes the best wine, nor is it simply proof of the divinity of Jesus. This miracle speaks about the mission of Jesus. The 6 stone jars represent mankind, or humans, because 6 is the number of man. The servants symbolize ancient Israel, and Mary, the mother of Jesus, is the archetype for Jerusalem. The governor of the feast symbolizes the kingdoms or nations of the world. The water pots, which were used for ritual cleaning, being filled with water and then being changed into wine by Jesus, is an illustration of the new covenant. By filling the water pots to the brim, the servants proved that the Old Testament purification ritual was not a bad thing, nor was it wrong. It was simply finite. The water occupied the full space of human vessels, but it could not change the vessel's nature. It is only when the jars are completely full of water that Jesus acts. The water doesn't get poured out to make room for the wine. Instead, the water becomes the wine. This act speaks of the transformation Christ does in us. The water was used to cleanse the outside of our bodies, but the wine must be ingested internally. No longer is purification an external issue only, but now through Jesus we are made clean on the inside. The water and the wine point to the crucifixion of Jesus, where the blood and the water came out of his side. This is the new covenant spoken of in the last week of Daniel's 70-week prophecy. Remember, the ruler stated that they kept the good wine until last. This points to what the Apostle Paul said. He said, Jesus is the mediator of a better covenant, which is established on better promises. There's a hidden meaning tucked away in the word wine. In Hebrew, the word has a numerical value of 70. 70 is the number for the table of nations found in the book of Genesis. It represents all the nations of the world, or the Gentiles. The implication being the wine or the new covenant is meant to be for all the world, not just Israel. This truth is also found in the Jewish observance of the Feast of Tabernacles, where they sacrifice 70 bulls, signifying atonement for all of the nations of the world. Jesus turning water into wine speaks of our internal change, from the old man to the new. It is a pictorial representation of how the old covenant has been turned into the new. It speaks of the marriage covenant between God and his people. Wine is the only drink that required its own unique blessing in the Jewish culture. It says, "Blessed are you, creator of the fruit of the vine." This should be our reaction to the wine Jesus has placed inside of us through his Spirit. Remember, in the Jewish culture, wine is a symbol of God's favor. So the miracle of turning water to wine is just not a telling of Jesus' first miracle or even proof of his divinity. It is a physical representation of the mission of Christ and the favor of God we have through him. Thank you for watching. Please help this channel grow by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Be blessed.